Hey folks, this is Colin Richards, president and founder of Lord & Richards, and I'm thrilled to be talking to you today on the subject of how to avoid paying extra taxes. How to avoid paying extra taxes, because in our prior segment, we talked about how you could pay more taxes, and most of it had to do with sitting back, relaxing, and not planning. Now what we're going to do is flip that coin a little bit and look at it from the positive side and say, what can you do? Well, it starts, number one, with an understanding between a micro and a macro view of taxation. You say, well, what does that mean? Well, a lot of times when I talk about taxes, people are thinking about filing their tax returns and what they're going to owe on last year's income. But that's rear view. That's rear view. That's micro. It's today. The micro view focuses in on saving right at this moment, or in trying to doctor up our tax returns to maximize the deductions, whatever it is. But that is not the view I'm talking about. A macro view looks beyond the year that we're dealing with today, which is usually where our CPA or our tax preparer is focused. And it focuses on a lifetime of taxes that you're going to pay right through your retirement and on into the next generation. This type of view requires us to have a comprehensive written tax plan. It requires us to have the expertise and skill necessary to put in place plans today that will protect you from overpaying on your taxes tomorrow. That's where we come in at Lord & Richards, because we have a deep bench in terms of our fiduciary responsibility to you, the designations we have on our team: certified tax specialists, certified financial planners, chartered financial consultant, a very deep bench of expertise to help you make your way through the landmine that is the tax law. Let me give you an example of some simple tax planning that a very familiar friend made years ago, Ronald Reagan. Many of you enjoyed his years in office. Well, you might remember way back when he was making his black and white movies. Back then, he made about $100,000 a movie, which was pretty good. But he only did 2 movies a year. And that ended up being only about 6 months out of the year. You say, well, why would he take 6 months off every year? Won't he kind of lose his pizzazz? Won't he get a little rusty? Well, the problem was that post-World War II, the top tax bracket was 90%. As a matter of fact, FDR proposed 100% over $25,000, which was over $335,000 today in today's dollars. Wow. So it was a confiscatory, a confiscating type tax bracket when Ronald Reagan was making his movies. So if he made more than 2 movies, he was moving into the 90% bracket and would give away almost all of the money that he earned. So that's a little bit of a simple illustration of tax planning. Well, we have some strategies and workarounds that we can use today that start on the subject of volatility. Volatility. What can we do to make sure that we are prepared in advance for tax volatility? Well, one of the things that we can do is take a look at our asset location and our asset allocation. We hear a lot about asset allocation, but what is asset location? Well, when we're talking about asset allocation, we're talking about diversifying where you're investing by placing your assets across different classes, such as real estate, gold, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, etc. When we're talking about asset location, we're talking about what accounts you're putting them in, what tax classifications you're taking advantage of. There are 4 primary tax buckets. Okay, there are taxable dollars that each time they earn a dollar, they're taxed on that earned dollar. There are tax deferred dollars, right? Those are dollars that are put in, and such as our IRA program, you don't pay taxes until you take the money out. Then there's capital gains taxes. Those tend to be favorable tax rates and tax brackets when working with assets that have appreciated, such as stock. The key is you want to be in long-term capital gains brackets, not so much short-term. Short-term brackets are the same as just ordinary income tax, but capital gain, long-term capital gains are much, much lower. And then, of course, there's my favorite kind of money, tax-free money, tax-free. So those 4 buckets, the taxable money, the money that you make, the money that earns $1 and gets taxed on $1, the tax-deferred money that you set aside that grows without paying taxes until you take it out, the long-term capital gains dollars, which are taxed at a much lower rate than short-term, and then our tax-free money, such as Roth IRAs and certain special categories of investments that avoid taxation altogether without even being in a Roth IRA. So there are 4 tax brackets, okay? Within the taxable category, you've got things like your pension income, your short-term gains, as I mentioned earlier, your stock dividends. In your tax-deferred category, you've got things like your IRA, your 401b, your 403b, your 457a, and certain annuities. And then you, of course, have the long-term capital gains that I mentioned, which means that you've held it for at least a year, the asset, be it a property or a stock. And then you've got tax-free assets that include things like Roth IRAs, municipal bonds, and life insurance. Here's the key. If you've got all 4 brackets represented, we want to be gradually moving money over towards the tax-free bucket, those municipal bonds, life insurance, Roth IRA. The problem is municipal bonds aren't paying a lot right now, so we've got to look more creatively at the other strategies. When tax rates are down like they are now, that's a great time to be pulling dollars from your tax deferred, like your IRA. When taxes go up, which they will, that's when we want to have long-term capital gain and tax-free buckets so that you can reduce your taxes even as the general brackets are going up for everybody else. Well, folks, this again starts with a written income plan. Do you have one in place? A written risk management plan, a written healthcare plan, a written estate plan, and yes, we're talking today about having a written tax reduction plan. That's all part of our financial independence review, a conversation that we have together with you and with folks just like you every single day to help you achieve financial independence and do the amazing things that you want to do with the people that you love, for the reasons that you love, with what God has entrusted to you. It really just begins with a simple phone call.